Well, the time is just gone 6 minutes past 8 a.m. as we kick off this morning. And like I mentioned, the producer at Haramain Sharifain, Mohammad Jibran Khan, taking a look at the Hajj Ministry devising policy for Hajj 1444. Mohammad Jibran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
Yes, wonderful that you're able to join us now. Hajj 1444. This year, we are looking at possibly, differences with regard to new policies being implemented. We know what had happened with 1443 and with the Mutawif system and how that impacted on the people in the UK and also in some of the other Western countries, the United States of America. And what is the thinking of the Ministry of Hajj this time around with regard to Hajj 1444?
Yeah, so we have seen what happened with Hajj 1443. We had so many complaints last year. Obviously, it's 1444 now. People had problems with Mutawif. Local Hujjaj also had a problem. The biggest problem, the complaint people had, that people above the age of 65 weren't able to attend Hajj. There were people who saved their entire lives and they couldn't, in the end, go for Hajj. And we are talking about 3 years because since the COVID pandemic began, they couldn't go. So this year, the Hajj ministry has been listening to all the problems, and quite early they are coming up with some policy. First, at now they have come with us some kind of policy for local Hujjaj we have been hearing. So they have kept a quota of 25% for Hujjaj above the age of 65. So we'll be seeing uh, Hujjaj who are above the age of 65 to go back to Hajj this year, inshallah. So that's the good news. So it's for local Hujjaj at this point, but we are hearing that it will be implemented for international Hujjaj as well. So
Well,
this
you know,
is
I think
one of
I
the
think this is
main
this
points.
is this is extremely positive, and as you mentioned, when one looks at people in that age category over the age of 65, these are people, like you mentioned as well, that have saved their entire life. And we see the situation here in South Africa. We know that many Hajjaj in that age category were actually disappointed that they were unable to go,
Yes,
Mohammed Gibran.
yes, definitely. Because you wait for Hajj, you were hearing all sorts of news that Hajj is gonna resume, and then you hear that your age is gonna go up. But
Yes, I think Mohammed Gibran, we've just obviously having a slight problem with regard to signal. We're going to try and get hold of Mohammed Gibran Khan once again. And the policy that Saudi Arabia is talking about is what is called a complete normalcy policy. And they are talking about implementing this policy in stages. So this is quite an interesting development. And we also will try and get hold of our very own local Hajj regulator in terms of Sahuk, just to find out about what are their thoughts. And I am led to believe that Mohammed Jibran Khan is reconnecting at this point in time, and we need to apologize for that. There are definitely signal issues, but what is quite relevant is the 25% reserve quota for the Hujjaj over the age of 65, looking at local Hujjaj first, and then extending this to the rest of the world. But also, what we need to understand and what we also need to learn. I see Mohammed Jibran Khan is back with us. Mohammed Jibran, I think what is also interesting about this policy, and we're talking about a normalcy policy, which is what they are calling about, is the Hujjaj over the age of 65, those who are unable to attend Hajj for the previous 2 years as a result of the pandemic and the precautionary measures that the Hajj ministry had taken.
Yes, as I said that one of the main points is being the age, the people with above the age of 65 will be able to attend. Other main points of this policy, which is being devised by the Ministry of Hajj, which is now for the locals, but we see that it will be implemented for international Hujjat as well, would be the introduction of new economic packages. They are which they are calling as economic. So it means that it will be cheaper than the previous year packages, because we have seen many complaints regarding the cost of Hajj as well, which are continuously rising since a few years. They are also introducing a new payment method, which will um, this one is for local Hujjaj. I don't see how it will be implemented for foreign people, but they are including a new payment method, which will see that people can pay their dues in installments. So it will be easier for them to pay. So people who are not able to afford to pay in one go can like divide their payments. So this is one of the positive things being seen in Saudi Arabia for Hajj
Yes.
this
Now,
year.
Mohammed Gibran, I noticed you mentioned local because, when we're talking about this normalcy policy, at this point in time, we just want to reinforce that all that we're talking about, whether we're talking about the age limit, we're talking about the introduction of the economic package, and also with regard to the payment methods, these are all for locals at this point in time.
Yes. Yes, these are for locals. I want to mention that because there's a separate policy for international Hujjaj, and even the registration for Hajj is usually taken very late in the year after Ramadan has ended. But this year we are hearing that it will begin as early as this month, Safar. So the month has already begun, and we are expecting that registration for Hajj may begin later this month. For international judge, there is good news that the ministry is devising a new policy, and they have listened to complaints which we heard last year regarding Mutawif. We have seen that the ministry intervened in the middle of Hajj. They took over operations at Arafat when there were problems, logistic problems, and supply chain issues. They took the operations of Mutawif personally. They issued a public statement, which we haven't seen happen since many years. There have been problems previous years, but I've spoken to you before and I said that I don't expect any statement, but unexpectedly, because of so much pressure by the media and by the Hujjaj on social media and other platforms, we saw them issue a statement in middle of Hajj. So that was one of the positive signs, and we expect them policy comes out which in which all stakeholders opinion and issues are discussed before it comes out. Like we saw last year, people were waiting last minute and the Motawif platform come out, but I don't see that happening this year. So something will come out this year which will be acceptable to all stakeholders.
Well, let us hope that there have been some very valuable lessons that have been learned as a result of some of the problems that were experienced with regard to the motorway system. And I'm sure a lot of it has got to do, obviously, with the system in itself, but also in terms of, this was a pilot project, but it was introduced very, very late, so that they were unable to actually iron out the problems, there and then. But this time around, I'm sure they've taken note of all these issues, and hopefully we won't have a repeat of what had taken place at Hajj 1443, Mohammed Jibran.
Yes, definitely, because the backlash the ministry faced last year, 1443, uh, isn't something we have seen happen every year. They got very backlash, and they have definitely learned their lessons. There were disputes between the ministry and Mutawif. We even saw statements saying that they have changed the CEO through they didn't name the company, but they did issue statements, and obviously people know it was Mutawif. And we are now seeing more statements regarding cancellation of licenses of Umrah companies who do not fulfill their obligations. So the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah is definitely hearing people, and definitely lessons will be learned or have been learned, and a system will come out this year. Inshallah, we are hoping that would be suitable for everyone. outside the kingdom. Like people prefer traveling with agents who they are comfortable with, uh, who can guide them in their languages, not some foreign system where you do not know the guidance, or where the complete Hajj is centralized to some company, and you have to go to them instead of them coming to you. So something new might come this year again, but I think it will be tested and it will be relayed to the people before it comes out, because
Well,
yeah.
I'm just wondering, Mohammed Gibran, whether there is every likelihood of the Hajj operators or the Hajj agents actually coming back into the Hajj space.
It might be possible, because as we have seen for Umrah last year, we were hearing that the ministry, what they would do, it would completely eradicate the Umrah operators and include an online system completely. But as the year began, on first Muharram, they introduced the online travel agents, but at the same time, they have kept the travel agents as well. So the plan didn't go ahead of them eradicating the travel agents. We reported that it would be eradicated, but they didn't go ahead with the plan. So obviously, this was the backlash after the Hajj period, after the Hajj season. So I do think that the ground travel agents will come back this year, and only it would be limited. So you have some very trusted and Hajj travel agents, which would be able to bring Hujjaj and Umrah pilgrims to Saudi Arabia.
One thing we noticed in South Africa with Hajj 1443 is, we are tied in with the quota as well. And many people had actually cancelled for one simple reason is affordability. Because Hajj
Yes.
has become very, very expensive. And you spoke about the introduction of the new economic package for the local Hujjaj, and I'm sure that it should be a consideration for foreign Hujjaj as well. Because if I look at just the South African scenario, we are at the mercy of things like the rand dollar exchange, for instance, the currency exchange. Now these are all factors that one needs to take into account. Then looking at the cost alone of the 5 days of Hajj, Mina, Arafat. I mean, that was quite exorbitant as well. And I'm not too sure what the thinking of the Hajj ministry is going to be as far as foreign Hujjaj are concerned, and particularly looking at economic packages for them.
So the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah usually makes packages for local Hujjaj. So how does it work with international Hujjaj is still yet to be seen. However, having said that, the Umrah and Hajj sector was badly affected when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and still there has been no recovery. If people have been to Hajj or Umrah these past 2 years, they can see that 50% of the market over there, the local businesses and the hotels there, have closed off, and they still haven't been able to reopen, even though the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah bailed them out last year. They helped them out, but still, as many 50% of the businesses closed off. So, in terms of cost for international Hujjaj, I can't say for sure if it would be easy this year as well. And because the economic package came out after people saw the packages last year, and they were shocked to see the prices, because the prices began at 12,000 real, which was I remember a few years ago, maybe not so long, 3 to 4 years ago, the starting package began at 3,000 real for local pilgrims, and suddenly it's at 11,000 real. So everyone was shocked a little bit. So after a little bit of pressure on the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, they reduced the packages by like 10%, but still people face issues. So they introduced this new economic package for local Hujjaj. So how that will play out for international Hujjaj, if any packages, cheaper packages would be issued or not. This is yet to be seen this year. For countries such as in South Asia, we do see that there are government programs. The Saudi government works closely with, because they send the most amount of Hujjat. So there's a special program called the Makkah Route program. So through that program, and some costs are reduced in regarding to travel. For example, the immigration and transportation, much of the cost is reduced through those programs. So for other countries, we are not hearing any new programs this year, but we will see what happens later this year.
Well, we definitely will watch the space. We will follow developments and we will see exactly what develops over a period of time. But for now, Mohammad Jibran Khan, Jazakallah to you for coming on and being part of the discussion this morning and also unpacking these latest developments. We wish you all the best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Producer at Haramain Sharifain, Mohammad Jibran Khan, with us this morning, just unpacking some of the new policies. And I must once again reinforce the fact that the issues that we have been talking about at this point in time, the normalcy policy is for locals, whether we're talking about the 25% reserve quota for people over the age of 65. We've been talking about economic packages. We've been talking about registration that will likely take place as early as supper. But all of this at this point in time aimed at local Hujjaj. And let us just see what develops as far as policy is concerned for foreign Hujjaj. And this is something we will continue following up with. The time is just gone 12 minutes past 8. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We'll be joined by the leader and the president of the Al Jama Party, Hanif Hendricks.